Hey, welcome back to Morning Joe. With us now, critically acclaimed writer George Saunders. He's the author of the new book, 10th of December. Mike, I think this man has been called like the greatest writer ever, the smartest dude ever. Last night at the Greenlight in Brooklyn, he's so huge.
Yeah.
The kids love him. Like, there were people just stacked out on the sidewalks at a book reading. He, of course, was inside by himself, so it was...
it's as if the Beatles.
Not that much of a genius. He should have gone out and talked to the peeps.
Well, as I told you, the year that you finished second, the MacArthur Genius Award.
Right.
George got it.
Yeah.
George got it.
It was you son of a bitch.
You know.
I want that trophy. Did I give you a trophy for that?
I wanted to split it, but they weren't open to that idea at all.
So you've been compared, obviously, there's unbelievable praise for your works, but you've been compared to Kurt Vonnegut. That's a heck of a comparison.
That's a great comparison.
Talk about what you have in common.
Well, he not much. He was a great writer. But I first read his work. I worked in the oil business when I was young. I was a graduate of the Colorado School of Mines out in Golden.
Right.
So I had a degree in geophysics. So I went to Sumatra for my first job, and we.
That's where I went for my first job.
I know. I thought I saw you there, but
that's
you were
crazy.
But we would take a helicopter into the crew, and so the job was it was 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So you'd load up a big bag of books, and if you picked the wrong books, you were in trouble. Yeah. But I got Slaughterhouse-Five in there one time.
Oh wow!
And, actually was a little confused by it at the time, but then it kind of grew on me. But he's a great writer, and what I loved about his work and what I try to get in mine is just that sense that a human being can move towards kindness, and literature is one way to get that person to do that. Reading, thinking, kind of the ritual empathy that fiction is can actually move us from a kind of stolid, lazy position into a more active, kind of compassionate role in the world.
One of the things that he did also is he used, and you talk about liking different muscles,
right.
As a writer, and you never knew if whether whatever work you're talking about. I remember reading Welcome to the Monkey House and just surprised story after story after story.
Right. Well, he was so
different.
I started out as a geophysicist, and he was a scientist also. And I think that you come at it with a slightly different lens, that you could sort of look at the data, human life, fairly rationally, objectively, and whatever weird conclusions come out of it, you're used to accepting them no matter what.
Yeah. Your latest collection, the 10th of December, somehow caught the eye of the New York Times Magazine. Last Sunday, the cover of the New York Times Sunday Magazine, Richard, George Saunders has written the best book you'll read this year. As soon as I saw that headline, I wanted to really hate you, George. But
sound like a true writer.
But true writer.
But within the piece, which was a terrific piece to read, you teach a creative writing course at Syracuse, and you have 6 students in the class. There were 5 that day when the reporter was there. How do you teach writing?
At that level, you don't need to. We get 550 applications a year for 6 spots. So these kids they're already great writers. So the interesting work becomes taking a person who's already talented, already dedicated, and then kind of urging them up into their highest kind of iconic place where the thing that comes out is what only they could have written. So it's kind of, in a way, it's sort of psychological mentorship. We have a 3-year program where they don't pay anything and they're actually paid. So we have a lot of time with them, and you can sort of get to see the relation between their work and them as a person. So it's really exciting work, and it's not teaching writing at all. That they've already got.
Do you distinguish at all? Richard and I are old print guys.
Hacks.
Distinguish it all between writing for the moment with the word yesterday in a piece, for tomorrow's paper or tomorrow's website or whatever, and the larger landscape of writing, for the mind.
We only do the latter, really. We're very focused on the idea that, they're getting a 3-year break from the world, and that 3 years is to go deeper, to kind of, of course, we emphasize revision, and the idea that, a young writer is kind of like, I always say, she's running through the woods, frozen woods, on ice skates. And if you have a good creative writing program, it's like a frozen pond suddenly appears, So she's still using her own energy, her own interest, her own stuff. But she hits that pond, and maybe we give her 3 years of accelerated progress.
Your life, you mentioned several times in your writings, you refer to the absence of money and your life, what you bring to the page each and every day. How important is that?
Very, very important. You know, I had a really kind of varied life. I worked as a doorman in Beverly Hills and a roofer and the oil work, and so I think the one thing I can kind of bring to a little bit is kind of an embodiment of this Terry Eagleton idea that capitalism plunders the sensuality of the body. You know, that sometimes it's a great system, but sometimes if you're on the fringe, it's pretty cruel. So like I did a piece a couple years ago for GQ where I went incognito into a homeless camp and lived there for a week in Fresno. And real eye-opener, you know, especially for a middle-aged guy whose mind is hardening into his own concepts. To be reminded that it's, you know, it's a glorious system, but there's an underside, and that's not pretty, and it's cruel. And so for me, part of my my early life was not hard. It was wonderful. But every so often, because I was an idiot, I would get myself into a financial fix. So that I think that sort of opened up those sensors. You know, it says Chekhov says something like, you know, every happy man should have an unhappy man in his closet with a hammer to remind to remind him by his constant tappings that not everyone is happy, and sooner or later life will show him his claws. So that's one function of fiction, I think. You know.
All right, thank you.